Yeah, qualitative and the emotional part of the show. So let's, first of all, good afternoon. I get really excited when brands say they want to get closer to their customer. Three of us here, you get a trio, which I don't think that anyone else has done this. It's not a panel, but we're going to take turns talking about what Discuss.io, Logitech, and Scoot did together. And, you know, one of the reasons I co-founded Discuss.io was to take the friction out of qualitative process and the need for more conversation to happen. And I'm not talking about getting at the why, because that's just overused time and time again. What I'm talking about is having a real just conversation and talking to people, not listening, but talking to them. And it's the interaction, it's the probing and clarifying. That's very, very important that we believe in. So when Ross and Katrina approached me to talk about this project, I got really excited because I knew we could help them map the customer journey. In doing so, by combining methodologies. So I'm going to turn it over to Ross now, and he's going to talk a little bit about the project. Katrina will come on, talk about her role, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more and wrap it up. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ross.
Thanks, Jim. So hello, everyone. Again, my name is Ross Almazan, and I lead consumer insights for Logitech's consumer music business, IIeX, which is basically our wireless Bluetooth speaker brand. So the consumer journey, this framework is very important to Logitech. We apply it across all of our businesses, and what it helps us do is it helps us to dimensionalize our understanding that consumers have their experiences as they move through the journey from the post-purchase phase through the pre-purchase phase of buying one of our products. It's important because what it does is it helps us understand all of the importance of the consumer touch points along the way. And what we have done here is we've divided up the consumer journey into 4 basic pillars. You've got the learn and the shop pillars, which basically concern themselves with the activities that consumers engage in leading up to the point of purchase. And then you have the use pillar, which is important for us to understand. It's all about the experiences that consumers have with our product. Very important from the moment they bring them home, unbox the product, out of box, use first time. And then the overtime experience is also important as well to understand. These experiences, hopefully they're positive ones, and if we can achieve that, then we get to a point where our consumers are talking about our products in a positive way, either online, on social media, posting very positive reviews of our products on Amazon.com, or even just chatting up in a good way our products to friends and family. That's obviously what we want. So the idea here is that if we can understand all of this, the journey that consumers take, what it does is it allows us to establish an ongoing and meaningful relationship with our consumers going forward. So rewind back to fall of 2017, and IIeX, our launch of our Blast and Mega Blast speakers. This is our first entry into the smart speaker category. Really exciting launch because these speakers are Amazon Alexa enabled, which allows hands-free voice control access to music that our consumers love. And also our Mega Blast speaker was our best sounding speaker launched to date. So not only could we tout ultimate voice control, but we could also tout ultimate sound as well. New speakers, new category, very important for us to understand the consumer journey. So we basically launched a series of research initiatives to really understand the consumer journey that consumers take pertaining to this launch, both pre and post. So moving on to the activities that we took for the Learn pillar. Very important for us because obviously this is the beginning of the consumer journey. And while we're interested in hearing about how consumers hear about our product for the first time, or even the triggers that get them to enter the purchase funnel in the first place. A lot of our research activities were focused on the exploration phase, because that's really where all the activity is happening. That's where our consumers are actively involved in researching about the products that they may buy, whether it's online or in-store. And so what we did is we did a series of qualitative research. We did them in the United States, Germany, and Japan. Those are strategic markets for us. And basically what they were, the research was diary studies where we'd invite people, consumers that were in the purchase funnel, to basically document their exploration and research activities as they go through this process of trying to decide what product or speaker they want to buy. Then we would go and visit them. We'd have one-on-one in-depth interviews, have them debrief, and really share with us the experience that they took, whether it was online research or in-store. And then we would actually go in-store and see how they shop the category. So what was really interesting for us going through this exercise was that this process, even though they start online and they may go in-store, the journey didn't necessarily in-store. It was very circuitous. They would go online, in-store, maybe go in-store, back online. It was not a linear process. But what was very apparent to us that regardless of whether they were online or in-store, both experiences were very important to us. So, for us to understand that is about our consumers, which is a good segue into the activities we took around the shop pillar. Given that the in-store experience is very important, it really underscored the importance that we needed to have a very impactful point-of-sale display. And these are the display units that you would see in a store like Best Buy. So the fact that we were going to be launching Blast and Mega Blast, and then also that our display units were several years old, really gave us the opportunity to do a global refresh of what our display units were going to be. And they needed to accommodate our new speakers, our Blast and Mega Blast. But despite wherever we ended up in terms of what the display unit was going to look like, we knew that there were some key success criteria that was going to help us get noticed in store, get consumers to engage with our product in store, and then hopefully nudge them in the direction of wanting to purchase our product. So the key success criteria were getting noticed, stopping power in store. As you know, when you walk into Best Buy, there's a lot of noise in there, both literally and figuratively. So how do we break through the clutter? Communicate our brand personality. There are some aspirational attributes that we want Ultimate Ears to stand for. We want it to be social. We want it to be fun. We want it to be creative, irreverent. So that needed to come through with the new POS. We also needed the POS to invite shoppers to experience our sound quality, engage with our speakers, and then educate them on our key features and benefits. And then lastly, because this was going to coincide with the new launch of our Blast and Mega Blast speakers, it had to be able to successfully showcase them and differentiate them from our classic Bluetooth speaker line, which you see here. So before we even attempted to design a new display unit that was going to replace this globally, we did some foundational research just to help us understand how consumers shop the wireless Bluetooth speaker category of the aisle in retail. And so we did these one-on-one shop-alongs. We took people into stores, Best Buy, which we did in the Bay Area. And again, it was just foundational research. We wanted to understand organically how they were shopping the aisle, how they were interacting with the different display units, not just ours, but the competitive set as well. What was working for them, what wasn't working for them, the kinds of information that they needed. And through this exercise, it was actually very humbling for us and very revealing. Significant improvement opportunities. If you go back and think about the success criteria, this POS display unit wasn't doing any of what we hoped it could do. We didn't have the stopping power in store. People were not walking away from the POS having a clear understanding of what the benefit our speakers were, and our brand personality was not coming through. The other big aha for us was, if you look at this, our display unit, there's a heat map which is superimposed over it. We had our shoppers through this exercise wear the eye tracking technology goggles, and so we were able to generate a heat map across not just our POS, but all of the display units that were evaluated in this exercise. And it was really interesting because what we saw is that the heat maps represented what we called this field of engagement, and it was very consistent across every display unit that we evaluated. And the point here is that this is where our shoppers are, this is how they're engaging with the POS, this is where they're looking. And if the information that they're looking for is not within this field of engagement, then that's not a good thing. The point is that if you have something that you want to communicate about your product and is important for them to know and want them to walk away with, if it's not within this field of engagement, then it's lost on them. And case in point, if you look at the top right-hand corner of this display unit, that's a video monitor that had this continuous loop of what we wanted our consumers to understand about our speakers. Also, lifestyle imagery, everything that we want them to walk away with. As you can see, it's not even in this field of engagement. Another proof point was that when we would have them step away from the POS and ask them what they recalled about the display unit, none of them even recalled that there was a video screen or a video monitor. And when we asked them, well, do you remember that? No one could even say that they saw it. So that was very, very enlightening for us if you think about how much it costs to produce content for that, replicate that across hundreds, if not thousands of units worldwide. So we took these learnings, and this was basically the end result. If you go into a Best Buy store today, this is the POS unit that you will see. We're very proud, or we're very happy with the results. The imagery on the back panel is resonant with our consumer target. It's telegraphing the attributes that we want people to know about our brands. It has stopping power. That Ultimate Ears brand logo is eliminated. It's lighted from the back. And then, as you can see, we've lost the video monitor altogether, and instead we've incorporated this interactive tablet, which is within that important field of engagement. And then finally, as you can see, it incorporates our Blast and Mega Blast speakers, and they are clearly differentiated between our classic line here. Again, very pleased with the results. Best Buy has given us the thumbs up. We've won an award, and we've actually done some follow-up research in store with consumers to see if we've actually moved the needle on those success criteria, and we have. So we're feeling really good about that. And so I'm going to hand it over to Katrina.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So we at Scoot Insights played a part in the shop-alongs, the eye tracking part of the work. But when we moved into the next phase of the consumer journey framework, the use phase, we had to go past the store. So we had to see what happened when the users took the speakers home. Past the POS, past anything that you can do at Best Buy, how are these speakers living and breathing in people's homes, and how are they interacting with them, especially with the new capabilities? So we used Discuss.io's webcam-enabled platform to conduct some conversations. And they were really that, to Jim's point at the beginning. They were conversations. Where does your speaker live? Where does it come around with you? What are your pain points? And that we could see it very visually through the webcam as they walked us through their home and talked about some issues along the way. We learned a lot, and we got some fabulous positive feedback about the brand, about it living up to some of the expectations set by the POS, including the form factor, the sound quality, some of the attributes like durability. But I'm actually going to let a couple of the participants tell us about that.
Because I am a musician, I was looking for sound quality, so that was important on my list. And this is something that I was kind of thinking about what I might use it for. And since I would use it to help me, in addition, I would use it for my own enjoyment, but then it was also something I would try to use as a tool to help me teach. And because I also teach marching band, which I teach oftentimes outside, it's something that I wanted to not only sound good, but something that could be loud, the sound could carry, and then, God forbid, some silly kid drop kicks it, or I drop it. I wanted something that I wasn't going to be afraid that it was going to die if something happened to it.
And a lot of the people we spoke to had actually upgraded from the previous boom or mega boom speakers specifically to try out the voice capability. And for some of them, this was their first opportunity interacting with Alexa or connecting their home at all. So some of them came from that perspective.
I got grandkids now, so it's kind of like I want them to come to the house, relax, or by the pool side was the pool or the camping, you can do both. Also, the little grandkids talking to Alexa might, give them kind of a fun thing to do, or tell a bedtime story. There's all kinds of things you can do to help them interact. So that was a major part of the purchase.
So we're very glad Glenn's grandchildren are visiting more frequently now as a result. But what we also learned is by taking that step into a voice-controlled world, the speaker actually transitioned categories a bit and became involved in this connected world for folks. And they loved the sound quality. They were getting what they were used to from a brand they felt positively about, but they were running into connectivity issues, figuring out the difference between Wi-Fi and Bluetooth in their house and how to interact with Alexa. So we actually learned a lot of things past the speaker itself into the world it's now inhabiting.
I'm at home. Okay. It's harder to do it through Alexa. It's harder. It's easier to do it through my phone when I'm at home. Okay. But recently, when I took the bass and the actual speaker away from my home and tried to play it at a conference at the registration desk where I was volunteering, it wouldn't work at all, which kind of made me concerned. Because the whole purpose of me getting this thing was so when I do go out of town, and I love going to the beach. I'm a water person, salt water, I love it. So when I do go to the beach, which I plan to do this summer, is it going to work? And that was really frustrating.
So that conversation will keep going. But I think that, the important thing here is to have these conversations. So when you move into the fourth phase of the framework, which is traditionally talk about, right? And as Ross was mentioning, that's when Logitech is listening and reading cues, looking at social media, looking at online reviews, trying to get a sense what the word of mouth is around a product. The other way to do that phase is to talk to or talk with the consumers and, have these conversations with them to keep connecting, keep that relationship going so that you're not just listening to, you're talking to them. And I'm going to hand it back to Jim to tell us a little bit more about continuing that conversation.
Thank you, Katrina. So, we're almost out of time here, but I just wanted to kind of just cap this off. And it is about that conversation. It's the give and take, like I mentioned earlier. And, talking to Rossi when this project was just wrapping up, he was real excited about the talk about phase because there was a lot of learnings that came out of that he wouldn't have normally had exposure to. And that's what it's all about. It's about having a meaningful conversation that allows you to engage with the consumer. And by doing that, you can empathize with them. And we see this time and time again with brands who are having these conversations, is that it is a journey, and they're understanding how the brand or the product or the service fits into their lifestyle, how they explain it to their friends, how they talk about it with their family. And it's more about doing one-on-ones, actually. If you notice, no one mentioned focus groups up here. There's much more power and talk time and interaction when you are doing these as a conversation, as a one-on-one. And I challenge you to think more about in that space. The other way we are seeing a lot of success is around doing friendship pairs, because friendship pairs allows for validation to happen, and they call each other out. An example, I eat healthy food. Friend says, no, you had a Snickers bar at 10:30 last night. I was with you. You forgot about that. Or no, you don't really work out. We were at happy hour 3 nights last week. You get a little bit more out of them. So it's a great way to think about a methodology. So as you saw today, incorporating the conversation in different methodologies is something to think about. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much. Questions?
What's the response that you've gotten from the users that are now experiencing it after they purchased it? I see that you showed a few video pieces that talks about their experiences, but how did you respond to that is my question.
Yeah, so I think what was really enlightening to us, and I did explain up front that the use pillar is really important for us to understand the consumers have once they purchase. But I think what was really enlightening to us from this particular exercise was the one gal who actually was having issues between when to use it, Bluetooth connectivity versus Wi-Fi. And so there needs to be, from our learning, a bit of education up front where they may have this expectation that they can take the speaker wherever and use Alexa to access information and the music that they want to hear. She may have had that understanding, but clearly there was an opportunity for us to communicate with her either as she was going through the pre-purchase journey or the unboxing, the onboarding, to really set some expectations of the limitations of what she can do and the things that she can do with this new feature. And that was what was really valuable about doing that particular exercise.
The second part is, what did you do?
Pardon me?
What did you do?
So these are new insights, and I also want to say that in addition to this qualitative work we've done, we've also just done sort of an attitudes and usage, which has a satisfaction component of consumers of our product. So we're taking that data, we're mining through that, we're taking this as sort of a qualitative component of that. So what that will help us do is improve along the consumer touch points, improving, again, the education process leading up to purchase, and then even taking opportunities to improve the out-of-box and unboxing and onboarding experience so that we don't hear feedback like that in the future. Mm-hmm.
My question is for Katrina. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about other situations you might use this kind of methodology.
So which one in particular? So we talked about, I'm sorry.
So, Katrina,
Katrina.
the core methodology, yeah.
Okay. I think any time that you need to get in situ with people, anything that you want to observe behavior or see the setting or the context to the situation. There's been a number of different presentations about context today and how important that is. So I think if you want to see into their lives, and that can be a home, an office situation, anywhere where you need that context around the person and to see them interact with something, anything in their kitchen or their laundry, somewhere that they can take you in and show you through the webcam. Yeah, anything to add to that, Jim?
What we often see is, without even asking, people will take you to the pantry or to the laundry. They'll pick up the tablet or the phone and just walk over there and say, hey, let me show you. Or I can remember doing a study around microbrews and beers where when the camera came on, the woman had 6 beers lined up in front of her. And she's like, tell me why my husband buys different beers every week. It's very engaging, and they really feel like you are peeking into their home, and they're willing to share that with you.
Yeah, we wouldn't have known that one of the new Mega Blast users was using his old speaker as a bookend if it wasn't sitting behind him, and so that opened up a whole conversation.
And I just want to add that actually this is the first time that we've used this methodology so soon after a launch of a new product. So it really allowed us to kind of test the waters and really understand, the experience that consumers are having. It's really important to understand that, especially so soon after a new product launch, number one. And number two, why they're still acclimating themselves to this new product.
Anybody else? Do we have a break now? I think we have a break.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.